Hello, I'm Dr. D, also known as Dr. Diane Skafta, and I'm glad to be with you again for another session where we talk to our guides. You might notice that I have 3 cards laid out already, and the reason for that is my good friend and I were talking. She's a friend in the spirit and also a spiritual consultant herself. We were saying that one of the most frequent questions that we're asked, and also ask ourselves sometimes, is how can I realize my dream? We carry these visions in our heart, these aspirations, these images of what we could be and what could be. And yet sometimes it seems like we're so far away from it, or the right opportunities don't open. Sometimes we get discouraged and even think, I was a fool to believe I could do that or that I could have that. Well, the guides think otherwise, and they had such a clarifying and, for me, inspiring and elevating message to give us around that I thought I would share that with you, with the 3 cards that we drew, and I will take a look at them again in the light of spirit and see what they have to say to us about how to realize our dream. As always, we transition into oracular space with some small ritual or gesture, which I love to do. Now that we're in the company of the great ones, let's see what they have to say about such an important question, perhaps one of the most important in our entire lives. The first card that came up kind of took my breath away for a moment. It's the 8 of Spades, the card of great depth that's so profound we cannot probe it with our mind, and yet we are of it, and therefore we are interacting with it. And what I feel is being said here is that the dream in your heart comes from this profound place. In a way, it's like it was written on your soul, inscribed like sacred letters on a clay tablet. Perhaps before you came into this life, but certainly as you came into this life. Perhaps you have felt from early childhood a prompting in this direction, an attraction to all things that might concern the topic, the area, the activity and beingness of this dream. You might have, as some people do, felt a very strong calling from a young age to go in this direction, or to have a certain kind of relationship, or to live a certain kind of life. The guides are saying that you can trust this dream in your heart because it was put there by something greater than yourself. It is the one that leads you. It holds you rather than you just holding it. And so with this expansive and almost incomprehensible energy field around you, how could you really not fulfill your dream? But how do we know which way to go? How do we know what decision to make? How do we know what door might open in the right direction or might be a side alley or a distraction? Well, I asked the guides that question too. And we got the Ace of Diamonds. This is the card of divinely inspired ideas, the card of light, the card of a shiningness, of laughter, creativity. It governs all of the arts. It governs beauty. And the message that came in so strongly was, if you have a doubt about which way to go, if you really want to be sure that you're on the right course, follow the sparkle. The sparkle. It's a particular experience that bubbles up from us. It's kind of like an effervescence in the bloodstream, in the psyche somehow. It's a delight, a lightening up, lightning meaning becoming light. It's almost as though psyche puts on a kind of magic glasses for us so that we see the world, but we also see the light radiating from certain people, certain opportunities, certain activities, certain destinations that the physical eyes cannot see. And I believe that we have had this ability from infancy. I'm convinced, as are many others, that babies are totally telepathic, that they see the energy essences radiating out from all that's around them, and that some of these essences shine much brighter than the others, and that is the direction that they're drawn to. Perhaps you remember something like this from childhood. I know I do. It's such a precious recollection and experience. I was 3 years old and walked out into our backyard. Now, we lived in a cabin in the middle of a forest preserve, and so there was a lot of nature around. And I remember looking down at the ground. It must have been spring, although I had no conception of what season it was. And the violets had popped out of the ground, and they were looking at me. They were alive. They were vital. They were so joyous. They were greeting me. And it's almost as though their radiant violet light was just sending these rays into my being, filling me with indescribable joy and happiness just to be alive and relationship with them and with all nature. It's so wondrous to be able to recall these experiences, because this is how little children experience the world all the time. As we grow up, we kind of lose touch with this ability to have on those magic luminous glasses. But you know, with just a little bit of encouragement, the wonder of it springs right back. And we do begin to see, not with the physical eyes perhaps, although that can happen too, but usually with the soul. It's a kind of elevation that happens. Watch for this experience. If something feels heavy and laden and difficult and you don't want to do it, but you have to, I can almost guarantee, and I know there's some exceptions, everyone's path is different, but in most cases that I have experienced and I have witnessed in my work, it is wrong for you. Spirit leads with a kind of a joyfulness of heart, a delight, a wanting to do something. So watch for the sparkles. They will guide you in the direction of your dream. The Two of Clubs was so curious and interesting to me. It's the card of learning. And the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this card was, yes, it's important that we learn as much as we can in the outside world about the field or the area, the realm of experiencing that we are longing to enter. So that we need to really become an expert in that. People say, oh, I would love to be a producer of great films in Hollywood. And I really, really want to do that, and I long to do that. And you ask, well, tell me, what does a producer do exactly? Well, I'm not sure exactly, but, you know, it's really good to study up on, learn as much as you can, become a living expert in the field or in the area of experiencing that you want to move into. Perhaps it's to have the love of your life, to have the most awesome relationship ever. there's a lot of amazing literature and studies and wisdom speakers who talk about relationships. We know a lot now about what a good relationship looks like, what kinds of behaviors we bring to it, what kinds of things to avoid. I'm just giving examples of the homework that is asked of us to do in the outer world around the destination that we're heading for. But for me, the deepest meaning of this Two of Clubs is to learn and investigate the territory of this dream within ourselves. To be like Sherlock Holmes, gathering every detail, being super organized. Clubs are always about being organized, getting all the facts, putting them down, making a bigger picture, seeing the whole. About what is it? What is that vision that we carry? So I invite you and all of us to think deeply into the dream that you hold. What would it be like when you arrive there? What activities would you do on a daily basis? What would be your experience on a daily basis? What kinds of people would be surrounding you? What would be the setting? What would be the location? Is it here? Is it in some amazing other country? Who would you be in the realization of that dream? How would you be different than you are now? What areas of yourself would be potentiated and come to life? And can you already detect some of those that already are thriving pretty well or on their way to becoming? I'll bet you can. And what would be the sacred sacrifices that you'd be willing to make for the fulfillment of your dream? It might be they aren't great. It might be they are life-changing. What ways of living would you put aside? What habits that you now have cultivated, maybe out of comfort, maybe out of just passing the time, maybe out of the sorrow of not having your dream, you develop certain behaviors and perhaps mini addictions of some kind, or ways of being that you know aren't in your highest interest. What would you put aside? What would you be willing to sacrifice in a sacred way for the realization of your dream? What persons would you be willing to walk away from if that were the necessary step to have your aspiration fulfilled? So think on these things, and you will be amazed. So much will come to light. You'll make then a better connection between the personal self and the more expanded psyche, which is already in touch with your present, your past, and your future, and knows what has to happen now for the right configurations to come into play so that you move into this other reality. It already knows. And it's whispering to you all the time. It's prompting you all the time. So I felt as though the guides really got it. I felt as though they were giving us instruction for right now. That it wasn't as though, which we all want, I would love to have. You know, it's like the traveler in ancient times. They said, I'm going to this new marvelous country unknown to travelers. And one says, well, I've been there. First you pass the mountain range, then you go around the river, then you'll come to a great plain and, beware of the warring tribes, this kind of wonderful adventure. But the hero or heroine's often given the big map in advance. That obviously wouldn't be the most productive thing in the opinion of the guides, because some of it we wouldn't really be able to maybe relate to or metabolize. So they gave us what to do next, and they promise they will give you, through inspiration, through intuition, through dreams, signs, oracles, words overheard in a crowd, the right friend coming at the right time, the right contact being made at just the right moment. They will give you those next signs, those next portals for you to pass through so that you will arrive without doubt at the fulfillment of that dream that you carry in your heart. Before we close, I'd like to say a prayer for all of us. Great destiny, you magnificent forces that hold us, that help us be part of the great play of the universe. Those of you who give us our role in the unfolding of all that is. Thank you for being really close to us now. Thank you for putting the right opportunities in front of us at the right time. Thank you for giving us enlightenment and insight about all the details of this magnificent dream that we are moving toward. Thank you for supporting us in every way, physically, emotionally, financially, interpersonally, health-wise, in all ways that we need in this world in order to carry out our sacred mission. And give us the heart, give us the will, the energy to go on at those times when we might be covered over in doubt. Show us your light, show us the sparkle, and we vow to follow it. Thank you. Amen. I really valued this time with you today. The channeling that came in was somewhat different, or at least had more aspects to it than when I first did it, and I think that's because you're here, and that's because these speakings are for all of us. I look so forward to when we can meet again and ask the guides.